Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering a crucial endgame skill, a checkmate with a single rook. Mastering this technique is essential because the one rook checkmate happens very often in chess games. I will show you two different ways for checkmating with one rook: the shrinking box technique and the waiting move technique. Both are easy to learn and are commonly used by tournament chess players. But before we go into the details of these techniques, let's first see what we're trying to achieve at the end with one rook checkmate. Here you can see one of possible checkmating positions with our rook controlling the 7th rank and our king sitting nearby. Can you find checkmate in one move? Please pause the video and think before we go ahead. Okay, here the checkmate would be rook f8 move. Let's see what happened. Our rook attacks black king and our king prevents opponent's king from escape. If instead of playing rook f8 we played rook h7, this would be inaccuracy, minor mistake. Black king moves, we move back, black king goes to the corner, and we checkmate the same way. But if we're trying to play rook g7 here, this would be a huge mistake, blunder. After we play rook g7, game is over, but we're not winning. This is draw, and the rule is stalemate. So we should avoid this move. So once again, the easiest way to checkmate here, just to play rook f8. This is checkmate in one move. And let's go to our next checkmating situation. It's white to move here, and the position looks almost the same. However, one slight change happened because the opponent's king sits on g8 square, not on h8 square like it happened in previous example. Now we cannot checkmate immediately, because if we try to play rook f8, king will simply take our rook. Nevertheless, we can deliver checkmate in two moves. Please pause the video and find this checkmate in two moves. Okay, to checkmate in two moves, we need to play a so-called waiting move. We need to move our rook somewhere back on f file. We can move it to f6, to f4, to f2, or even to f1. Let's say we move rook to f4. Now we're forcing king to h8, and our rook can return and checkmate black king. Okay. Now let's look at several examples that illustrate how to deliver checkmate with one rook from any position. Here is our first longer example with our king and rook sitting in the opposite corners and black king being in the middle of the board. In this example, we will use the shrinking box technique. Our first step would be to create wall with the rook, with taking under control the 4th rank. Let's say black king simply stays in the middle. Our next step would be to bring our king closer to help our rook. Coming closer, closer, and now we're ready to create the initial box. We place our rook on c4, controlling the c file and 4th rank, and making a box where black king will stay. Let's say black king plays to the center, and we make box a bit smaller. Now instead of controlling c file, we're controlling the d file and still the 4th rank. Let's say black king moves, we move our king, coming closer with our king, and again we're making box a little bit smaller. Now we're controlling d file and 5th rank. Let's say black king moves to f6. Now we're using our king to restrict opponent's king. We're going to so-called up position, preventing black king from escaping. Now we make box a little bit smaller. Let's say black plays king f6. Now we play waiting move keeping the same box. Again, we're making box a bit smaller, controlling the 6 rank and E file. And we keep going in this pattern until black king goes to the corner. Now we should be careful not to stalemate. Remember, in this position, if we play rook g7, it would be a huge mistake. We don't want to stalemate and make draw. Instead, we play rook h6. This is checkmate, and we're ready to go to our next example. Here we have similar position with our king and rook sitting in the corners and black king sitting in the middle of the board. But this time we will use different technique. Instead of shrinking box technique, we're trying to use waiting move technique. Our first step is the same. We're creating wall on fourth rank. Second step is also the same. We bring our king closer to help our rook. And now we will do something different. Instead of playing rook f4 and creating box for black king, we will move our rook to h4. So what is the purpose of this move? We're trying to catch black king in so-called opposition. Let me show you what it means. If black king moves to f5, we're sitting one square apart. This is opposition. Now if we check, black king is forced to the next row. Let's say black king moves to e6. Now we again go to opposition. And let's say black king moves away. Now if we try to catch an opposition, black king moves back. So we're not achieving much. In this situation, we're playing so-called waiting moves. We're switching our rook to other side. Now, if black king moves to e6, we're sitting in a position and we will check on 6th rank. Let's say black king tries to escape. We follow, escape, follow. And now we catch black king in a position. Now we check again. Black king moves to f7 and we go to opposition. Now our next move will depend on what black is doing. If black king moves to g7, we will play rook b6, waiting move. If black king instead of g7 moves to e7, we will switch our rook to h6. If black king immediately decides to go back, we will play rook a7, cutting off the king. Let's say black king moves to g7. Now we play waiting move. Black can go to opposition immediately or try to escape. We follow. Now we catch opponent's king in opposition. Now we check again. Opponent king moves to the last row. Now we go to opposition again. Let's say black king moves to this side. Again we play waiting move. Now if king moves to f8, we play rook h8, immediate checkmate. But if black king tries to escape, then there is no escape because we're catching king in the corner and checkmating it. Now let's go to the next example. It's white to move. Our pawn almost promoted, but our own rook blocks the promotion. Also, it's not easy for us to move our rook away, because the opponent's rook might immediately take our pawn. Let's say if we play rook f8, rook will take our pawn on g7. Nevertheless, there is a way to convert here to one rook checkmate and win. Please pause the video and think how to play. Okay, the correct play here starts with rook a8 move. Now we're threatening promotion. If opponent takes our pawn, then we win rook with skewer, attacking both black king and rook on the 7th rank. Black king moves away and we take opponent's rook. If opponent decides not to take our pawn immediately and attacks our rook, we can still promote. And now opponent likely takes our queen. Again, we're converting to one rook checkmate. Let's say what else black can do. They can try to check us, but we get closer to the rook. Again, closer to the rook. And now black probably needs to take our pawn. Again, it would be skewer. We attack opponent's king and rook on the 7th rank, take rook, and now we're ready to proceed with one rook checkmate. Let's use the shrinking box technique in this example. It's our move, so let's play rook d7. Create wall here, and then let's move our rook to e7. Again, we're creating wall and we're creating initial box. Now let's make it smaller. Let's move our king. Box becomes a bit smaller. Then once again, use king. Box again smaller. And we keep going in this pattern until we squeeze opponent's king to the corner. Let's say king moves to the corner. We play king f7. And now we're almost ready to checkmate. But if we play rook h6, we would lose rook. So what you do? We're playing waiting move. Somewhere on the 6th rank, to the left, or we can go to g6. Let's say we play rook d6, black king forced to the corner, and now we checkmate. Now our rook attacks king, and our king prevents black king from escaping. Let's go to our next example. It's white to move. White has the rook for just one pawn, but the black pawn is close to the promotion. And the black king is ready to help its own pawn. So how to play here? Please pause the video and think how to proceed. Okay, white must play the rook f5 move, separating the black king and the black pawn. See, we have separation on the 5th rank. Then white should be able to win the black pawn easily because the black king would not be able to protect it. Let's say black pawn moves, but black king cannot help, so we're attacking pawn. Pawn needs to move. We attack pawn again. Pawn can even promote, it doesn't change anything. We take this new promoted queen and ready to deliver one rook checkmate. And let's use the waiting move technique in this example. Okay, first we're creating wall on d file, then we start bringing our king closer. Come closer, closer, and trying to catch black king in a position. If black king moves to c5, we'll be sitting in a position and check on c1. Let's say king moves to other side, we move, king moves and attacks our rook, we switch to other side, and now we play waiting move. King tries to escape, follow, escape, follow, and finally we catch black king in a position and check on c file. Black king is forced to go to the next line. We go to up position and again play waiting move by switching rook to other side. Black king tries to escape a position. We follow. Eventually black king needs to step in a position. We check it again. Let's say black king decides to move to other direction. Now we play waiting move. Black king goes to the corner. And now final opposition happens and we deliver checkmate. Our rook attacks black king and our king prevents opponent's king from escaping. Let's go to the next example. It's white to move. Here again the rook plays against one pawn. The win is possible, but white needs to play well to secure the win. Please pause the video and think how to proceed. Okay, here white needs to bring the king quickly to the d2 square to help its rook to stop the pawn promotion. So the first correct move is king g5. Let's say black moves pawn forward. Now we place rook behind the pawn, stopping it. Black king tries to help and we come closer. Come, come. And now we're on time stopping black's promotion. Promotion still can happen, of course, but we take this queen, and now we're ready to checkmate with one rook. And let's use the shrinking box technique. Okay, here it's our move. Let's play rook c2. We created our first box. And then let's make it smaller. Now it's a bit smaller. And let's keep going with our king and rook, making box smaller and smaller. So now it's a bit smaller. Again a bit smaller. And we keep going. So now box pretty small. Let's say king moves to the corner, we play king c7, and again, if we try to checkmate immediately, we lose the rook. We already know what to do. We play waiting move. Let's say we play rook 6 here and ready to return with checkmate. Next move, king moves to the corner, and here is our checkmate, and we're ready to go to the next example. It's white to move. Here the rook plays against 2 pawns. The win is possible, but white must be precise. Notice that if white plays wrong, it can even lose, because the rook might not be able to stop pawn promotion. Please pause the video and think how to proceed. Okay, here the correct play starts from rook a7 move, followed by rook a4 move. So we play rook a7 and attack pawn. Now pawns are stopped. Black king might try to help pawn. So let's say attacking pawn. Black king comes, we take pawn on b4. Now we're forking, take last pawn, and now we're ready to checkmate. So let's use the waiting move technique in this position. Let's create wall on d file. King attacks rook. Let's keep the wall and bring our king closer. Remember, we're trying to catch opponent's king in opposition. Now let's play waiting move, ready to check black king if it goes to opposition. But black king tries to escape, we follow, escape, follow, escape, follow, and now we have our opposition and check from c7, pushing black king to the next file. Again opposition. Let's play waiting move again, waiting for black king to step to opposition. If black king escapes, we follow. Escapes, follow, and black king has nowhere to run. We catch black king in opposition, push it to the last row, to the a file, and now we're ready to checkmate. If black king moves to a6, checkmate follows. If black king tries to escape, nothing changes. We still catch black king. Here is our final opposition and checkmate. Rook attacks king, and our king prevents black king from escaping. Let's go to our final example. It's white to move. Here the rook plays against the knight. Very often such material results in a draw, but in this specific position there is a way for white to win. Please pause the video and think how to play. Okay, white can catch the black knight if we play rook c4. Now rook restricts knight. Black needs to move king, and then they lose knight with either fork or pin. If king moves to a7, we have fork. Our rook attacks king and knight at the same time. We're winning knight. If black king moves to either b7 or b8, we play the same move. We attack knight, forcing it to go to b4. And now we pin the knight to the king. So king moves, we take knight, and now we're ready to deliver the one rook checkmate. And in this last example, let's use the shrinking box technique. Black moves, attacks our rook, we keep wall on the fourth rank, and now we bring our king to help rook. Okay, now we're creating our initial box, controlling e file and fourth rank. Then we make it smaller. Let's use a position here. Now let's play waiting move, and we make box smaller. Now we keep going in this pattern until black king goes to the corner. Let's say king goes to the corner. Now we know that we need to play waiting move. Let's move rook to d6, black king forced to the corner, and we checkmate. No more examples. Now you know how to checkmate with one rook. The key thing to remember is that you should use your king and rook together, forcing the opponent's king to the edge of the board. Try practicing this checkmate either against computer program or a friend, and let me know in the comments how it goes. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more chess tips and lessons. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.